The Solitaire Series, Episode 1, The Six of Diamonds, by Troy Lambert. Narrated by Troy Lambert. Are you kidding me? Six of diamonds? The card sat face up on the green felt, with two still upside down underneath it. No, sir. Six of diamonds it is. The dealer's vest stretched over his belly, and the buttons strained to keep it closed. It had probably been 2 sizes too small 2 years ago. On top of his shoulders, and a neck replaced by a giant second chin, sat a round face with a neatly trimmed beard. The top of his head was shaved clean, male-pattern baldness revealed in the stubble. I don't have time for a six of anything. I have a flight to catch. Re-deal. That's against the rules, sir. Screw the rules. You know what I do for this organization? I'm fully aware, sir. Beady eyes looked at him coldly, and Stephan knew he was screwed. He could do this job, or be censured. That wasn't an option. Fine, he said, and scooped up the card. It's not like I wanted to start the year on a good note anyway. Have a fine day, sir. See you again soon. Stephan didn't reply. Instead, he strode with purpose across the casino. As he did, he pulled his phone from his pocket. Yes, he said when a mechanical voice answered. I need to reschedule a flight. As the conversation ended, he stepped out into the blinding sun, and he dropped his aviator glasses from the top of his head down over his eyes. The curse of being blond, blue-eyed, and genetically pale meant the desert sun wasn't good for any part of him. It was the reason for his long-sleeved cotton shirt, which he was already sweating through, and his habit of wearing long pants instead of shorts. Luckily, his car was not far away. He could have used the valet, but he didn't want anyone touching the Bentley, let alone one of those sweaty teenagers sitting their pimply ass in the driver's seat. He slid aside and turned the air on full blast. The cooling seats were permanently activated whenever he drove around here. With a jolt that still surprised him sometimes, he accelerated out of the parking lot and onto the road. A goddamn six of diamonds. Damn the luck of the draw. He took the next left a bit too fast. He knew right where he was going and really wanted to make a flight sometime this evening. Otherwise, he'd be stuck in this hellhole for another night. There, his destination was up ahead on the right. He raced ahead, then hit the brakes hard. The car slid effortlessly to a stop, the anti-lock braking system working well. What one would expect from one of the most expensive production cars in the world. Stephan stood and stretched, cursing the giant yellow globe in the sky that made January feel like July. He felt like an ant under a magnifying glass. Moving to the trunk, he opened it and then looked around. Really looked around. The building he was about to enter was dilapidated, with shingles flying off the roof like lemmings over a cliff. Boards had replaced windows and a shitty hasp padlock, the only way to secure the front door, which stood open at the moment. The neighborhood looked just as shady as the building, and he noticed a large man under an overpass just half a short city block back, watching him. "Hey you," he yelled. "Come here." The large body rose from its lean against a concrete pillar and ambled over at a snail's pace. "Jesus, hurry it up," Stephan said. "You want to make a few bucks or what?" Built like a linebacker gone soft in the middle, the brick wall did not speed up. If anything, his words slowed its progress. A giant afro with a comb stuck in the side puffed out from his scalp in a diameter nearly as wide as his shoulders. "What do you want?" the man said. "Watch my car for a bit while I'm inside?" The man whistled. "I'll take it for a spin if you want. Pick you up whenever." Stephan turned away, reached into the open trunk, and pulled out a shoulder holster containing 2 pistols, one on each side. After swinging it over his shoulders, he buckled the center strap across his chest, and then turned. "Tell you what," he said. "You watch the car. You get 100 now, 100 when I get back." "How long are you going to be?" "If I told you that, you'd know exactly how much time you have to get away. I'll tell you, I could come back at any moment." "When you come back, then what?" "If the car is still here, unscratched, with no damage, not even a fingerprint, you get another 100. If there's a single mark on it—" One pistol seemed to just appear in Stephan's hands and point itself at the man's head. "I'll just kill you. If you aren't here, I'll hunt you down and kill you and whoever you're with." Sure. You got a deal. What do you want there anyway?" A beard nearly as full as the man's afro pointed towards the building. "You could say I'm doing some shopping." The man snorted, his flat nose wrinkling as the snort turned to a chuckle. "You sure you're in the right place?" "Yep." "And what is your name?" "Felix." "Felix, I'd love to stay and chat, but it's fucking hot. So here's your 100. The gun disappeared back into the holster, and $100 bill, folded neatly in half, appeared in its place. "I'll be back in a jiffy." He turned and walked towards the building, a place he didn't want to be. But this was the price for the Bentley, all the travel, the house, the villa in Cabo, all of it. As he entered the door, he ducked. A blast of warmish air struck his face, and then a second door whooshed open, and he stepped into glorious air conditioning. The dilapidated outside was clearly a sham. Inside, the interior was modern and cool. He faced a reception desk, one like you might find in an upscale hotel, oak with brass fixtures, and a young woman with glasses standing behind it. Her hair was as blonde as his, pulled up tight in a bun on top of her head. Her vest and business suit mirrored that of the dealer he'd been sitting across from earlier. When it came to who wore it better, she won hands down. She sported simple jewelry, gold-rimmed glasses that accented her features rather than detracting from them, and her smile made her face shine. He assumed she must be wearing heels because her eyes were level with his, and at 6 feet he wasn't short or exceptionally tall either. "Can I help you, sir?" Stephan pulled the card from his pocket and placed it on the counter. "I need one of these." "How soon?" she asked. "Now," he said. Her smile disappeared. "Wait here." She left, and Stephan looked for a place to sit. There wasn't one. There were no waiting room chairs, not even a couch. There was art on the wall. One he swore was an authentic Van Gogh or a very good replica. A few minutes later, she returned. "Here's the address," she said, handing him a slip of paper. "Do they know I'm coming?" "Of course not, sir." He smiled. "Thank you." She nodded, and he left. The Bentley sat right where he had left it. Felix stood nearby, clearly careful not to touch the car. "Thanks, Felix," he said, and handed him another 100. "You ever need any more work, you let me know," he said. "I won't be back," Stephan said with a confidence in his voice, but something in his head told him he was wrong. What he often called his spidey sense was tingling, and he had no idea why. He fired up the motor and headed out. It was only a 6 of diamonds after all, not a jack or worse yet a joker. The address was close, and he put the pedal to the floor. He'd need gas soon if this kept up, but he hoped it wouldn't. He'd prefer to be airborne rather than driving as soon as possible. Even in the afternoon sun, the house seemed dark, shaded by the surrounding trees that not only made it feel cooler as he stepped from his car, but also provided plenty of places for someone to hide. He kept his back to the car and moved around the hood and towards the front door. The 6 would have no idea he'd arrived. A 6 would not even sense him, never see the danger coming. The problem with 6s, though, especially diamonds, was they were just smart enough to sometimes surround themselves with higher cards and had just enough money to protect themselves. Not what aces could manage, certainly, but an 8 or 10 wasn't out of the question. Diamonds. Why did he have to draw a diamond on this of all days? Stephan pulled out his pistol and clicked off the safety. He then checked and found one in the chamber. Good. He kept the weapon down at his side, pointed at the ground, but his muscles were tensed and ready. The sidewalk felt long, and he walked up it slowly, looking right and left. He knocked on the door, and no one answered. He didn't expect them to. "Open up," he said loudly, "or I'm coming in anyway." "What do you want?" The voice from behind the door was younger than he expected, and it sounded feminine. "Just to come inside and talk," he said. He relaxed his shoulders, but remained ready to bring up the pistol if needed. "Did Solitaire send you?" "They did." "Then go away." "You know I can't do that," he said. "I can pay you," the voice came again. "Not enough," he said. "Just open up." The door looked sturdy. He didn't want to kick it down, or worse, try to shoot it, and neither action might get him what he wanted. "I'll make you a deal," he said after a moment of silence. "Let me come in and talk to you, and I promise I'll at least listen to what you have to say." After a moment he heard a click, and the door opened just a crack. "Come on in, then," the voice said. Stephan towed the door open slowly, his pistol now in the up position, pointing at the ceiling. He took a moment to let his eyes adjust to the dark interior. Then he pushed the door back quickly, stepped inside, and closed it behind him, keeping his back to it. He'd entered an empty living room area. The owner of the voice was nowhere to be seen. To his right, he could see a kitchen through the arching doorway. There would be knives and places to hide in there. Both were things he could deal with, was trained to deal with. He saw movement at the left of his peripheral vision and looked that way. A cat sat on top of one of those ridiculous carpeted towers and stared at him. "Watch yourself," he told it. Stephan kept one eye on the doorway to the kitchen and slid further into the room, using the wall as cover. Nothing moved. He didn't hear a sound. If he hadn't heard the voice behind the door, he would not have believed anyone was home. But someone was. He could feel their presence. There, off the kitchen and to the right, was a hallway. He moved slowly toward it, head on a swivel. He could use a partner to help clear the building, but he didn't have one. Not anymore. The wall in front of him exploded, and he hit the floor and rolled. His pistol came up, and he found nothing in the sights to point at before he realized what had happened. Someone in the next room had fired at him through the wall and missed. Then he saw it, a shadowy entrance to his left. He moved toward it in a crouch. In the movies, cops and others popped around a doorway standing tall, making themselves a huge target. He kept low instead. When he reached the door, he ducked around, covering the room with his pistol. "Freeze," he told the slim silhouette holding the shotgun, pointing up where someone stupider than he was would have come around the corner. It started moving down. "Damn it," he thought, then fired. "Ah!" The shadow moaned and fell. Stephan stood quickly and approached, kicking the shotgun away from the writhing body. "You shot me," she said. "Had to, or you would have shot me." "How much is this over, anyway?" "60, but you know that." "They sent you for 60? The voice said. "Do I know you?" Stephan asked. "Nope, but I know you," the female voice said, "by reputation. So you know I have to take you in, one way or the other." "Yep." "What way will it be?" The woman rolled over onto her back, and then he saw her clearly for the first time. Red hair, green eyes, freckled skin, thin lips, a taser. A taser? A second later, 50,000 volts of electricity coursed through him, and the pistol fell from his hand. Something hit him on the head, hard. A clever 6, he had time to think. I wonder if this is it. Darkness swallowed his consciousness, and he resigned himself to his fate. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Solitaire series. Tune in for the next episode here or wherever you listen to audiobooks.